Welcome to the North Garden. This is our economic plant room here at the conservatory. Today I want to show you a number of the plants that we have here in this room. And these plants, we call it the economic plant room because a number of the plants are used for food, for medicine, for building, all the things that you would normally use plants for. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start here on your right with one of our first plants, the vanilla orchid. Now, did you know that vanilla is an orchid? Vanilla is one of the few vines in the orchid family, and here at the conservatory we have a vine that is crawling all the way up to the roof. What makes it special today is that there's actually a flower. Now, once that flower is pollinated, we would end up with vanilla pods. And these vanilla pods are what you would put in, if you wanted to do it at home, you could put these in your alcohol of any sort, let it sit, and that would be your vanilla. Most of the time people just buy vanilla. It's a much easier way to do it. But today it is special. We do have a vanilla flower, and that happens about once every couple months here at the conservatory. In the same area of the vanilla, we also have a banana, and banana is not a tree, it's actually an herb. It's one of the tallest herbs in the world. Ours right now has a wonderful flower on it. It's actually a plantain, and this is one of the cooking bananas. But most people realize that edible bananas, the finger bananas, are ones that we're most familiar with. They're also called dessert bananas. Bananas also have a flower that can be eaten, and it can be cut up like celery and boiled, or the little tiny florets can be added to Thai food, in particular your spring roll. Bananas also have seeds. Now that's a wild banana. The bananas that we eat don't normally have big seeds like this, otherwise there'd be no reason for us to eat them. Also on the right side of the room we have miracle fruit. Miracle fruit is a small shrub, and in our conservatory we actually get fruit. And what makes this plant so unique, let's say you wanted to try something very sour. Well, miracle fruit's attribute is that anything you taste after eating a miracle fruit tastes very sweet, especially if you're eating citrus. It's a little tiny red berry, and our plant again has these fruits occasionally here. Most of the plant material in this room is hand pollinated, and so we don't always have all the same fruits that we would have all year long. We have different times of the year where we have different fruits. Also in this room, make sure you look for the signs on each plant. They have the common name, the scientific name, and the family name. There are more plants in here that we can cover in this tour. So make sure you look for those black signs, and they'll give you a lot more information of plants you want to look into later. Also, as you walk into the right on the room, I have a pineapple plant. Now there are a number of pineapple plants in the room, and most people don't have any idea how a pineapple grows. Pineapples actually form on the top of the fruit, on the top of the plant. So imagine that big pineapple that you'd pick up at the grocery store. Imagine it growing on top of what looks like a very prickly looking sort of plant. This plant right here now has a new fruit forming, and it's very immature. It will never get as big as this in our conservatory, but we will have a nice little pineapple showing here very shortly. As you walk into the room on your left, you're going to see starfruit. Starfruit is one of the plants we have here at the conservatory. It's a nice yellow fruit, and when you cut it open, you have a 5-pointed star. You'll see these a lot on dessert trays here in the United States. It's very sweet and crunchy and reminds me a lot of summer. Occasionally on the left as you walk in, on the wall, we'll have a number of plants that have been grown in the greenhouse that will sit out here for short periods of time. Avocado is one, and avocado comes from the seed of the plant, or the seed of the fruit that most of us have seen at one time in the market. And most of these seeds I get actually from coworkers and their lunch. And we'll start them up, grow them out, and then eventually they'll be planted in the ground here in the North Garden. Also on the left as you go in on the wall is ginger. Now ginger is something that we all use here, and this is the ginger root, and also we have the ginger plant. And these are just plants that I've started from buying the root at the store, putting them in soil, they come out. And a lot of things about ginger, one thing you should know about ginger is that it does go dormant. And so a number of these plants may not be out in the conservatory all year long, but look for them on the wall. On the left, you're going to find a nice little tree called the key lime. And the key lime is one of our citrus plants here at the conservatory. In the spring, we tend to have little tiny yellowish fruits, and that is the key lime. All the flowers are hand pollinated. There is a cute little flower here right now that hopefully will turn into a key lime. It's great in pies. If you've ever been down south to Florida, you'll know you've had key lime pie. These taste just as good. One thing you'll notice in this room along the ground is we have a wonderful ground cover. It's called black pepper. And this is the one that you would use in your kitchen table every day. And the seeds itself come from a little tiny flower. And once that flower is pollinated, we'd have the little black peppercorns. Now, in our conservatory, we don't have enough sunlight here in the northern latitudes to actually get that to work. So what we're looking at is we use it as a wonderful ground cover here in the shaded areas and the sunny areas. Check it out. Look at the papaya trees above your head on the left. There's a whole number of papayas in this area on the left side of the room, different ages. All of these are from seed, and so there's always going to be a few in the room. Imagine a big ripe papaya growing out from the top of the papaya tree. And these would be the ones that we would eat in our salads. You can also use papaya seeds to grind up and have a wonderful spicy addition to your salad. Papin that comes from papaya is also used as a steak tenderizer and a meat tenderizer. And when I was in West Africa, we took the papaya leaves and wrapped them around tough meat or tough chicken, and it would actually soften the meat enough to be able to eat it. So papin comes out of papayas. Another popular plant in the North Garden on the right is the calamandan orange. And this one always has little tiny oranges on it all year long. Very fragrant flowers when it blooms. But it's a very popular plant as you walk in. It's up over your head and a nice little tree. Another plant on the left is the noni. Noni is a popular plant, and it's used a lot as a dietary supplement. It has a white fruit when it's mature, smells like rotten cheese. It's pasteurized, turned into a drink, and again, used as a supplement. People really adore this plant. Our seeds came from Suriname, but it is one of the plants that you can see in Hawaii and many other parts of the world. Now, the North Garden here at the Conservatory started out as a room with just all different kinds of plants. In past history, there was hibiscus in here and many different kinds of flowers. But in the 1990s, this room actually was turned over into a room where it was dedicated to economic plants. And again, economic plants are plants that are useful to humans. And we have a number of plants in here that you would find only in this part of our conservatory. They're not in any other parts of the other conservatories, but these plants would also be found in other parts and other conservatories around the US. One of my favorites, though, is coffee. And coffee is a plant that everybody seems to be familiar with here. And this coffee tree actually has red berries up on the top. And if you look up on the top as you're coming in, these berries are also called cherries. Those cherries, if you broke one in half, you would see two halves like you would when you're having coffee in the morning or grinding your coffee seeds. It takes two seeds to go in one cherry. So coffee, and this is from Ethiopia, and this is one of the most wonderful plants I think that we have here at the Conservatory. One of the most noteworthy trees here at the Conservatory is on the left. It's our Ficus carica, or the fig tree. Now, we think that possibly this tree has been in here since the conservatory opened in 1915. It's been recently pollarded or cut back, and the reason we do that is that takes away all the extra foliage, and then we can have this plant grow and stay the same height in this room. It doesn't shade out everything else in the room. And figs, yes, figs are something that most of us would eat if you're eating cookies. And we have a nice little fig here that came, this is a fresh fig that would actually grow on a fig tree. Our fig does not have fruit normally. Now, this is a very unusual plant for the conservatory. This is called cava, or cava. And this plant came by way of the Hawaiian Islands. This is a plant where the root is used by the local Polynesians, and it is a form of a natural Prozac. It's a relaxant, but it's very unusual to see this plant out of Polynesia, and we're very lucky to have it. And again, this is cava. As I said before, there's so many plants in here that we don't have time to talk about all of them. But as you come around the right towards the end of the room, make sure you look for the blood banana, the dinner plate fig. On your left, you'll see peace lily. We also have stephanotis on the right, which is a wonderful flower for wedding bouquets. And then we come over here to the very far corner, and we're going to look at cassava. With the cassava, most people don't realize that cassava is the plant that gives us tapioca. And tapioca is those little pearls that you make into a different kind of pudding. Also, there's the cassava root, or yucca. And this is a plant that's eaten in many parts of the world where they don't have potatoes. Also behind me I have the macadamia nut. And the macadamia nut is a plant most of us are familiar with, but did you realize that it's actually from Australia? Most people realize that it grows in Hawaii, but it's actually not from Hawaii. One of the more popular trees here in this room is the chocolate tree. And this is a plant that I think is one of my favorites. If you look now, there are many cocoa pods on there. If you opened up one of those pods, you would find about 40 seeds, about the size of half an inch to an inch long, brown. That is what's ground up to make cocoa powder. And the cocoa butter that a lot of people use for tanning is also coming from this seed pod. This plant is a plant that we believe has been pollinated in this room by fruit flies. In the wild, it would be pollinated by a little tiny fly, and we're lucky to have these fruit flies flying around the room, and that is actually what is pollinating this plant. It's one of the older plants, and it is started from seed, as many of the plants are in this room, seeds that have come to us by various ways, and we are very proud of this plant and showing it off. This is one of the dried cocoa pods. The plants, when they're green and growing, can be green, yellow, or red, but once they're dry, they turn brown. They're actually hard. You can actually hear the seeds shaking on the inside. Well, you've passed a number of other plants if you've gone on the tour, but I want to point out another one that's very important, mango. And mango is one of these plants that, for most people, is a wonderful fruit. For a number of people, though, it is a plant that's a little challenging. This is in the poison ivy family. And this is a plant that if you happen to be allergic to poison ivy, you might have some issues with touching it. So this is what a mango fruit would look like, and we've had a couple, but I want to make sure that you see the plants on the other side of the room. This is on the right side. We have allspice. Allspice is a spice that many of us are used to using for cooking. It's the berry that we eat, but actually the leaf themselves actually have a lot of smell and I don't know about flavor, but there is quite a fragrance to this tree, allspice. Another one of the favorite trees in the room is the annatto tree, or bixa tree. This is a tree that will be up over your head on the left side of the room. Bixa is one of a popular ingredient that you'll find. Well, one of the uses for it is actually, you know that red color around cheese? That is actually from the bixa seed. And bixa is also used in a lot of cooking to color the oil red. After the annatto, we have cola. And this cola plant is actually the flavoring that you would find in a number of cola drinks. And cola would be a round nut. And if you happen to be able to find one, open it up, take a little bite, and it's pure caffeine. It's what people use in other parts of the world when they don't have any food, and it gives them, it's a stimulant. And it carries them on through the day if they don't have enough food. But cola is actually a wonderful plant, and this is a plant that we've started from seed from one of the local neighborhood stores. Again, on the left side of the room, we've just passed the baobab, but we're looking at now the traveler's tree. And the traveler's tree doesn't necessarily have a real plant's useful story, but Old Husband's Tale says that it aligns itself east-west, and ours is actually aligned east-west. And if you ever need moisture or water when you're out in the world, you can actually drill a hole in it and there's moisture that is collected. And this would be a wonderful plant for a traveler to look for in the wild. As you come into the center of the room to our sitting area, look above your head. You're going to find the tamarind tree. The tamarind tree is a very light foliage looking tree. What's famous about the tamarind is it does have edible seed pods. And the seed pods are used as either animal fodder or humans do eat them. Also in this area, we have taro. And taro is a root. It comes from a plant that looks very similar to this. This is more of an ornamental taro. But the root is eaten a lot in Hawaii as poi. Ground up, peeled, steamed taro. Also in the center area is chicle. Chicle is one of our favorite trees, again, up over your head. Have you ever heard of chiclets or any sort of gum? It comes from the sap of this tree. Chicle arrows would actually come through, not in here obviously, but they would cut into the stem, gather the white sap, and make gum. This is chicle. On your right, as you're out of the center area, we have cotton. Now most people know about cotton, it's in clothing, but did you know that cotton comes in a variety of different colors? We have green, brown, and white growing here at the conservatory. We also have sugarcane in this same area, and sugarcane is something that most people would know about. It's a form of sugar. You would take the stem, take off the outside area, and you could chew on it, and that's sugarcane. Just past the sugarcane, you're going to find kumquat, be on your right. And kumquat is an orange-colored citrus. It has a little tiny fruit used in salads and fresh eating. Also, right above the kumquat is the carob tree. Now, carob has a rich history. All those diamonds that are sitting around, you ever wondered what carat means? It's actually the word carob. And the carob seeds are very small, and they were used as the weight of measure for those precious diamonds and other stones. It's also a chocolate substitute. Across from the carob is bamboo, and bamboo is a very important plant. It's used for many different things, from building to eating. You can go all the way from skewers, bamboo skewers for your kebabs, to bamboo shoots, which are cut up and eaten. Bamboo can also be used for longboards, and they're used for the deck and gives it its springiness. Just past the bamboo on your left is cinnamon. Now, all of us have had cinnamon at one time or another, and cinnamon actually is the bark of the tree. We use cinnamon sticks in your spiced apple cider and also for eating. There are so many plants we didn't get to cover today, but I want to make sure there's one that you see before we leave the room. It's jackfruit. Jackfruit is a very small plant in our conservatory, but it has one of the largest fruits in the world. The fruit itself can grow up to 78 pounds. Here's a section of the fruit. It's an edible, and it's something that many cultures in the world love to eat. If you look up in the tree, you're going to see very small fruit starting to form. They're very tiny, only a couple inches long. They'll never reach the same size as a mature jackfruit. Thanks for taking the tour today. We hope you enjoyed it. Come back and visit us real soon.